Hello everyone, my name is Kyle Bedian. Welcome to my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Yes, I just got back from the movie and this is basically how I feel walking out of the theater. Yes, I thought this movie was amazing. Can I just say that right now? I thought it was amazing. Yes, this movie was worth the hype. Yes, this movie is worth the hype and is definitely a crowd pleaser. Let me just start by saying that this will be a spoiler-free review. I do not want to spoil anything. So the premise of this movie is Mysterio revealed Spider-Man's identity to the world in the last film. This movie picks up right where it left off. And of course, Peter Parker wants to get Doctor Strange's help to try to fix it. And when the spell goes awry, all of a sudden all these multiverse villains show up. And the movie was extremely exciting. First, I gotta say, Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Jacob Batalon, this was honestly the best. All three of them, especially Tom Holland. This is the best that all three of them have been in this trilogy. They brought the heart, they brought the emotion, they brought the laughs. I love it. Now, if they already did that in the first two movies, so I appreciate that, but in my opinion, this one's cranked up to 11. The emotion here is so raw and so powerful. It was really well done. And Tom Holland, yes, you've probably heard other people say this as well. This is the best so far that he has been as Spider-Man. He as well, just like I said before, has brought a lot of emotion and heart. He goes through the ringer in this movie, and I felt bad for him. This is one of the first times that I felt bad for Spider-Man since Spider-Man 2. Now let's talk about the action. Woo! There is a lot of action in this movie, and it is amazing. The action set pieces in this are easily some of my favorites in the MCU Spider-Man films. I'm not even lying. And yes, I do believe this is the best Spider-Man movie that the MCU has given us so far. If this is the height that they can reach, I want to see them reach higher. And I'm just going to say, without giving anything away, without giving any single details whatsoever, the final battle of this movie is one of my favorite final battles in a Spider-Man movie. And that's all I'll say. Easily the best Spider-Man final battle that we have gotten in this trilogy. 100%. There was a lot of humor that landed, and there was some humor that didn't actually. There were times where I didn't really hear anyone laughing in the theater. There were times, a few times, when I thought the jokes kind of overshadowed the drama just a tiny bit, but thankfully they didn't do that too much, or to an insane degree. Now as far as just a few things that I missed on, I would say the first 15 minutes is good, but there was some editing choices and some timeline fuckery that they kind of did there. And I really think that the first 15 minutes is the most flawed part. I mean, it's the least interesting, but I will say this. I think the Far From Home first half is definitely worse than the first 15 minutes of this. Absolutely. But I will say, it starts sooner. Asking Doctor Strange to make the spell. It starts sooner, the villains start showing up sooner than I thought they would. Only about 20 minutes in. I thought that was pretty good. But those first like 15 minutes or so, the setup, it was okay. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever seen. But honestly, if we're talking about Spider-Man movies and we're talking about our experiences with them, I really don't care. And yes, the second half of the movie, I pretty much have no problems with. Just, that's it. And also some of the humor in the beginning didn't exactly land for me. And again, kind of sprinkled throughout the movie. But my main issue with the movie was actually one of editing choices, because most of the time, it didn't really feel like the villains were in the same room together, even when they were. I felt like a lot of the shots, it was just on them. Didn't really show them together. It showed them interacting, of course, but it didn't really show them doing it together. And honestly, the biggest one for me is Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. I loved him in this movie, I absolutely did. But it felt like the camera cut away from him a little too much, or obscured his face a little bit. I don't know if they thought it was too campy. I don't know if they thought people wouldn't be able to take it seriously, but I think it detracted from it. I really wanted to see how he would be without the mask on, and they sort of gave us that, but really not as much. It didn't really feel like as much, but that's not a blight on the character or on the actor. But I will say that is one thing that I noticed. Some of the editing choices and just a little bit of the CGI didn't exactly work, but honestly, I really don't care. I thought this movie was a blast from start to finish. It's about 2.5 hours long, and I'll be honest, it didn't feel like that. It actually went a lot faster than I thought it was going to, and the action was really exciting. And seeing all these villains come together and seeing how they would handle it, I'm on board for. I was on board for, and honestly, I think the movie delivered. See this movie in a theater, absolutely see this movie in a theater. That's all I have to say. Either see it on the biggest screen or see it in any theater you can get, because this was absolutely a crowd pleaser. I really wish I was watching the movie right now just to see what other people's reactions in the theater would be. I'm sure I'll get the option eventually, but I honestly really enjoyed this, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my YouTube career after this, but I will say I am super happy that I reviewed all of the Spider-Man movies leading up to it, and I'm super happy that, which was what I was going to do anyway, but I'm super happy that this trilogy ended with a close, because I felt like all of the storylines were resolved by the end. And I'll be honest, I was like a lot of people. By the time the movie ended, I was in awe. I honestly was, like, I kind of saw it coming, what happens, but I really thought they pulled it off extremely well. I mean, honestly, it's one of the big takeaways that I had with this movie was the ending. I thought it was great, and it really does set the stage for what comes next. And what I mean by that is, it set the stage for us to get excited about what happens next. And I don't know what's going to happen next. Honestly, I really don't. What I do know is that this is the best of Tom Holland's Spider-Man that we have gotten. 100% in my mind. And I'm someone that really, really likes Tom Holland. Now, Tobey Maguire is still my favorite Spider-Man, and he always will be. But Tom Holland, great job. I'm so happy that they casted you. I really am. But yeah, guys, so I really feel like I've talked about everything that I possibly can in my excitement watching this movie and the build-up to this movie, that I think it paid off extremely well. And I'm so happy that I rewatched the Spider-Man movies before this, because I love doing that, and it felt like, since this was an event film, this was something that I had to do. And honestly, I'm super glad I did. I'm super happy I did, rewatching these movies, because the first Spider-Man movie was the first comic book movie I ever saw, and was the introduction to comic books and superheroes as a whole for me. So this franchise means an absolute lot to me, and in some ways it started my nerd fandom. So that's what I say this movie has done, this franchise has done for me. So, guys, Spider-Man No Way Home was absolutely amazing, and I'm actually going to give it an A. Yes, I think Spider-Man 2 is a better film from beginning to end. However, Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie that I'm going to rewatch constantly, just like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. I had never seen the Andrew Garfield movies up until these watches. Look at those videos for explanation as to why. And honestly, I have not rewatched Homecoming and Far From Home since they came out in the theaters. I just never really had the heart to watch them. I'd much rather pop in Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, because those actually feel like Spider-Man movies. But this movie is definitely going to be rewatched just as much as those two for years to come. Guys, it finally happened. Spider-Man No Way Home. Have you been looking forward to this as much as I have? I mean, an event film like this comes around every once in a while. Endgame and all that stuff. And honestly, I think it paid off. And I don't know what they're going to do from here on out. I really don't. But I will say, the conclusion to the Home trilogy is over. And honestly, I think they pulled it off. Guys, that was my long take, my long review on Spider-Man No Way Home. What did you guys think of it? Did you think it was as amazing as I did? Or did you think it really wasn't that good? Please, let me know your opinions down below, and no spoilers in the comments. Although maybe it's okay because it is almost Saturday. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this is the first series that I've ever done. I'm hoping to continue more. I'm hoping to do Batman videos when that movie's about to come out. But guys, please consider supporting this channel. I absolutely would appreciate it. Please consider subscribing, like, share, and comment on these videos. It will really help me out. Once again, thank you very much. Agent out.